All right, I'm gonna show of hands of how many had a pest-free garden last year. I'm supposed to have some experts in the room. Not? Everybody had pests? What about some soil issues? Anybody have soil that is kind of? That's nobody not doing that? We got one person, so you're gonna be the head of the soil team.
We have problems.
Oh, you're all saying you all have that problem? Wow, okay, so, then you're in the right place, because we're gonna try to tie some things together. What do you think of when you have a pest? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Poor soil.
What's that?
Poor soil.
Poor soil, well, that's a good answer. What's another?
Do it.
Yeah, that's what most are like, get rid of it, right? Okay, so the soil problem and the pest are both symptoms. That's not your problem. You think it's your problem, but it's not your problem. It's not the problem that we need to fix. Right, so I was hoping that the way we pitch this, the free the seats and stuff, we'd have an interactive room and we could make some groups, but I'm not seeing how that's gonna really work well. But I do need some volunteers that can do some writing on the board, so who would like to volunteer to be a team leader? You don't have to stand up yet. Oh, okay, sure. Right, so what do you think is wrong if the plant is having pest fires? Not healthy. It's not healthy. That's right. And we are looking at the plant and we think, hey, it's healthy. What could be wrong? Uh-oh. Our technology is wrong. This won't go.
We may just need to use these.
No, I can't.
Okay, hold on. It's a stake.
It's in the machine. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Can you go forward now?
No, we'll stay here. Just a second.
You might be able to now.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. Right, so the plant's not healthy, but we think it is healthy, right? Because I've been growing for what, 50 some years, and I think I'm growing healthy plants and they produce. But they actually aren't that healthy because the insects telling us they are not healthy. Right, so the second that we get the lower level insects, those are the ones that eat sap. Somebody said they loved aphids. No, everybody doesn't like aphids. So aphids are the one of the first ones that are a great indicator that we've got some soil health issues. And actually, it's the aphid is showing up and working on our plant. Our plant is like on the verge of being garbage, ready for compost. That's a little harsh, right? Hard to take too, because I'm like, those are my gorgeous peppers, and they are looking good. I think they look good, and they produce, but they're still piled up with aphids. Well, they are at the lowest level of them. So that's a good indicator to know, okay, if I got aphids, whiteflies, stuff like that, I'm just barely keeping this plant alive. So we got to think of, okay, we need to do photosynthesis better in order to help that plant. Now, how many wants a garden like this? Yeah, I'm like rock star, right? This lady's garden started out with soil like this. And I could say 2 years ago, because 8 years ago now. But it's a 2-year mark, so we had this completely gone. And she told her husband to sell the pillars like this. She never ever used them again or needed them again. Okay, so that's kind of, I think, the goal, right? And my goal is the plant to do the work. I really enjoy it doing the work instead of me doing the work. So we need to reduce the labor, and we're going to figure out how to do that with this plant doing most of the work. Let's see, the photosynthesis, but let's go here first. Who knows these principles? These are soil health principles with some add-ons. Context is added on because if I'm growing in eastern Montana and I'm dealing with a west wind that's blowing my garden over, it's way different than you here in the mountains growing in completely different soil and different wind conditions, right? So those are different contexts. I don't want to have to do work for the plant unless the plant work for me. That's way different than the picture above of the lady and my friend. She likes working out in the garden, but she's not having to deal with any insects. She's not having to deal with any soil problems. But those are different contexts. So does anybody familiar with this? And these are the soil health, principles, and it's what we need to start living by. So keeping the, cover on the ground, how many think they're farming with microbes and the microbes are doing the work? Wow, we got two experts in microbes.
I have a little
A
bit.
little bit, okay, so
I'm starting brand new gardens.
so the microbes, I kind of drew some in here on this plant. They are actually doing all the mineralization for your plant. And we need to be taking care of them because they're gonna take care of the plant. It's gonna take care of the human. So the first thing we want to do is keep the soil covered with mulch or a living plant, and it can be a living plant like, where'd this go to?
Sorry, we're having some trouble with the Zoom.
Yeah, you gotta get it
We're
back.
being able to see.
All right, so the plant is feeding the microbes through the photosynthesis process. So let's walk through that real quick. The photosynthesis process, and we're going back to what, middle school, maybe freshman in school, right? Where we learn the process of photosynthesis. Well, think of the process of photosynthesis like a car plant, make an assembly line, right? So if we have a car, we have a frame, we have the axles, we have the tires, and the windows, and it's coming down the assembly line, it's still got to get other components in it to be a car, right? So you're going to need a steering wheel, a transmission, an engine, all kinds of stuff in that car. Although it looks like a car. It's kind of where we're at with our plant. When we're at level 1, it looks like a plant. But it actually doesn't have everything it needs in it. So the plants to do photosynthesis are going to need, I gave you lots of cheat sheets. What's some of the micronutrients that needs to do photosynthesis? Anybody at the bottom of your thing? Proper. Okay, good. What's another? What's going in all of our bones and all of our bodies? Calcium. And we're going to talk about calcium. We need calcium. Crucial that it is doing helping with photosynthesis. So those micronutrients that are on your cheat sheet, that plant needs a little bit of them available all the time, every 24 hours, because it's a 24-hour cycle, in order to make a healthy plant and to do really good level of photosynthesis. They think that our plants are doing somewhere between 20 and under % of photosynthesis capabilities. So that means we're leaving 80% out there, not getting it. That means, to me, we're losing a lot of production. And we're losing a lot of nutrients that could be in that plant because the plant's kind of, what do you want to say, checked out. It's just standing there. Right, so we got to have those elements. We can draw them up around there. Level 1. This is John Kemp's plant health pyramid. You can look it up online. It's got great YouTubes about it, and it's genius. And I've simplified it so that you can understand as a gardener what to do when you think this through about health. No, don't spend much time. We're going to work at that. So we're going to put those elements up there. Those you need to have for the plant, available to it all the time in order for it to do photosynthesis completely. Right, so what does that really mean? It's now making sugars and carbohydrates that it's going to make to grow itself, right? To grow a plant. Well, it's going to have excess if it's doing it well. So the first level, where we're at level 1, we're going to have aphids and whiteflies. That's where we're completing the photosynthesis process. When we step to level 2, 1 and 2 can happen at the same time for the gardener, and we don't notice that they're happening at the same time. But at level 2, the proteins are getting completed, and then we're getting into a higher level of insect that we can not deal with. Right, so you get into our harder ones. Who loves flea beetles? Nasturtiums do. Yeah, until they die, right? Nasturtiums are a great track crop, though, that I put them in every garden because those flea beetles are going to go to them first. They seem to be very poor at doing photosynthesis for such a big gorgeous plant. If you get the trailing. So anyhow, the flea beetles are a major, major problem for us in eastern Montana. They are native to Montana, and then us as farmers have planted crops that they just love, like mustard. canola, and there was like rampant everywhere. Right, so anytime we're not getting the proteins complete, those flea beetles can be eating our plant. So those gonna be visual indicators for you, like, oh, I got a few flea beetles showing up. Like, I need to get these micronutrients that we can buy, luckily. And I'm not a salesperson or anything, I'm just showing you what I've used. And I've been using 3 different products. This one is liquid feed from Bionutrient Food Association. It's on your handout. Is it under products? Somewhere it's available for you to use. There's others. We went to Box of Rain yesterday, so there's another I'll show you. You can get to where that's at. Anyhow, those need to go on in little tiny amounts. There's micronutrients. They've already got them in the rations that they need, but it's crucial that you pay attention to what the label says and you do the label instructions. Don't put a cup in when it said a tablespoon. There's a big plant's got lots of ink, but don't need to really fix it. Don't do that. Right? You're going to get things in excess, then you got a bigger problem. So you don't do that. You follow the instructions. Even Soil Diva. Soil Diva is a product that's similar. It doesn't have the magnesium in it, which magnesium is really crucial. We got a big magnesium problem in the country. We won't get into that today, but this is still a really good product, and it's made in Billings. So it's going to be door prizes, especially for our hardest worker in the room. Okay, so if you start asking questions or whatever, I'll dish you out some soil. All right, so that's going to take care of these micronutrients getting applied. And then she threw in some seaweed, some like crab shells, a little bit of mayonnaise, of molasses, because the micronutrients or the microbes love sugars, right? And so the plant is making sugars in the photosynthesis process, and then it's pumping them the excess that it doesn't need down into the roots and into the rhizosphere, into the root hairs. And then it releases into the soil. Then it makes soil alive, which microbes come in to eat it. They're coming to the plant, and then they're going to do mineralization for the plant. So it's all tied together. We as humans, we only need to make sure the micronutrients are there so that the plant is able to do the photosynthesis on its own. Any questions?
No question.
Yes.
What was the name of the thing you said, the plant you can plant for the beetles?
What's that?
What was the name of the?
Nasturtiums. 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 I like trailing. The trailing ones get really big and long. Okay, then we move up the plant health pyramid, the next thing that's going to happen, and somebody should be thinking, well, what stage does this happen at? This is the photosynthesis cycle, folks. This is what's happening when it's degrading. This is what's happening when the plant's just kind of studying there, but we're just reducing everything that could be happening. Like on a day, like you think, oh, this pepper's been growing like crazy, but then you go back the next week and it still looks about the same. That plant's just been posting. It hasn't been doing this at a high level. Otherwise, it would be making more leaves and more blossoms than it do. When we have complete photosynthesis and it's regenerating, we're getting lots of reduxitates coming down out of the plant from the photosynthesis, feeding lots of microbes. We got to think, if we want to fix these soils, we need to have a lot of microbes in there. Yes.
You know that with fermentation, like if you would have put in vegetables in 3 days, microbes are fading a lot of the chemicals that may have been on plants. Do you know if the microbes do that to the soil as well?
Some do take care of chemicals. That's a whole world of another stuff. We deeper subject than what we're going to go to too. I just know. Yep. So, but we want lots of diversity of microbes. So where's the microbes coming from? Anybody know? Well, you could buy them.
Compost.
What's that?
Compost.
Compost, yeah, good place. Where else?
Rat crawlers. Worms.
Well, worms, but think of this plant is This plant is loaded with microbes. So it's got microbes that's all over its surface, all over its every leaf, every part of it, even inside of it. They're finding out through James White's research that the microbes, the bacteria especially, are coming through the root tips to get the root exudates. They're actually entering the plant, and the plant's like, yay, free nitrogen. It takes the microbe in, strips the nitrogen shell off of it, and then it releases that bacteria to go back to work. Technically, if you're a vegetarian, your plant is not. All right, so this cycle is happening every 24 hours. When it's doing it well, we're not going to have any pests. And your quality is going to increase like crazy. This is supposed to, this is 24-hour cycle. So say I go on vacation and I come back 3 or 4 days later and I didn't do anything to help the plant last week, and the plant looks the same as it did the week before. Well, I got the next 24 hours I can start getting something applied to it. So when you want to apply anything for the plant would be when the birds are singing. So that's early in the morning or in the evening, not ahead of a rain. You want to have it so the plant's able to take in whatever you're putting up. Okay, so when we get to, this won't go backwards. Maybe it will. Hold on, we'll figure it out. Okay, when we get to level 3, now this plant, it's got a lot of sugars and carbohydrates that it's producing every day. It's a factory. Now this cars are running out the line really fast. It's got more than it needs. It's made big leaves, and the leaves going up and down the plant from the bottom to the top should be the same size. So those are good garden indicators that you want to write down and memorize some of these indicators. Because in the past, what's my plants? Big in the beginning, big and then pretty tiny, you're like, But that should be big all the way to the top of the plant. So those are indicators that they're not, right? As your next leaves come out and they're getting smaller, then you got to think, maybe I should help the plant back. I got to go backwards. If it's plant went backwards, got to go back in here and then you get a little shot of the shoots. So once it has an excess, it starts making fats. The plant makes fat. It's fat. And we want fat plants. We want them to be fat. And as they do, they're putting these lipids on the outside layer of the plant. And you'll recognize it as a waxy coat that's on broccoli and kale, but it can be on all plants. So when I see corn start having it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff really works. That this theory works, right? Because this is a new theory compared to what we've been exposed to before. Like every plant, beans can get this waxy coat. Not as waxy as a broccoli plant, but still we can get what we call fat, right? So on that plant, when it starts getting fat, now, if you got an insect trying to chew through it, a lot of them don't like that. Nothing to do with it, right? So it's now protecting itself from this layer of fat. Another thing it's going to do is going to put out a lot of root hairs, hairs all over it. Hairy plants. We want very hairy plants. Hairs everywhere, on the stems, on the plant leaves, everywhere. It should be hairy. The hairier, the better. The hairier they are, the less pests you're going to have. Another thing with this bacteria and these microbes and stuff, the more of them there is on your leaf, the less place there is for a fungus that's flying by, the spore to land on your leaf and take off and start going, because the microbes are there controlling it in numbers. So we want lots and lots of numbers to the microbes. In order to get to level 3 and 4, we need to have lots of action with the bacteria, the protozoans, nematodes and stuff in the soil to help with this whole system. Because these plants we could get a plant up to level 3 and then they go backwards the next week. Because we had a stress, say it's August. Now. July was pretty nice, but August we know is going to be 95 degrees and hot winds and no rains. Does a plant like that? No, do you take a microbe that's itsy bitsy? It doesn't have eyes and it lives on little tiny water filaments in the soil in the dark, in the first dark. You think it likes 95 degrees? They want humid temperatures, 85 degrees. Anything above that, they're like, sorry, bud, it's been fun, but now it's game over. We're just going to chill out. They go dormant. They just quit doing it. So you need to have the cover on the soil. So you keep it cool enough, make them happy. And it's retain a little moisture in there too. They live on moisture. They need some moisture. So that's why we want the cover. The cover is helping to improve the soil and giving a place for the microbes to really be happy. So if we try to get to level 4, which like how much on a scale of 1 to 75, that's how many minerals could be in a broccoli or a kale plant. 1 to 75. Which number do you want?
75.
75. But we probably are not getting that very often, unless we've got this waxy coat going on, and then it gets to the level where it's making the essential oils and the tannins. The taste is out of this world. And the leaf, when we pick the leaf, you can stand it right up there and shake it, and it's not going to break, tear, or tip over. We want these leaves solid and stout, right? So the thicker the leaf, it's another indicator for you, and this can be right at the get-go, right at the beginning of this plant's life. We want them to be thick leaves and not wimpy leaves. We want them to be correctly formed. Anybody see leaves that are all wrinkly? Okay, what do you think that is?
Deficient in
Something.
probably, yeah, a protein.
What we make ourselves out of? Calcium. And it's deficient in calcium when it has that wrinkly leaf. You may see a wrinkly leaf one day, the next day you come back and then the new leaves form. It's all gone. So it took care of it, right? We took care of it, and either what we applied, or it was able to go get it with the right microbes to be able to do it. But without the right microbes, it's like, oh, that's not happening down here either.
So that would be the 24 hours photosynthesis.
Every 24 hours, you got a chance to fix
So
whatever.
if it's got a wrinkly leaf and then the next day it doesn't because you added something, then you added the right thing because it's killed itself.
But you're not adding every week or every day.
No.
You could add every week to 10 days. Some of these things say 2 weeks. But they have done tests on that stuff and put them in microdoses and missed them on the plant all the time. And they're setting every record you could ever have in production. And even the days of maturity, but I'm like, what? They're cutting days of maturity with just giving the plant what it wants when it's going down the assembly line.
And not giving it nitrogen. Saying you're not adding nitrogen.
Not much nitrogen, a little bit of nitrogen, but the microbes are going to do that. Right? So if we got a lot of bacteria here and we have protozoa and protozoa is eating those bacteria up, every time it gets a stomach full, it's going to have to poo out, and it's pooing out too much nitrogen that if it kept, it'd kill it. It's like, I got to get rid of that stuff. It gets rid of it. Now it's plant available, and the plant takes us right up like, thank you. Do we add the protozoa if we don't have the bacteria? Nope. We gotta have them. We gotta have them all. And they're gonna take care of that. So nitrogen is the one thing I don't really look for or buy. And actually, if you put too much of it on, you've screwed this all up. And that's not doing you any favors. We're gonna have to really keep moving because it's 10 o'clock already. Is there any questions at this stage? No, I'm like, whoa. Yes.
What's your go-to soil cover?
Go-to soil cover is alfalfa.
Alfalfa.
Alfalfa is 20-to-1 carbon and nitrogen ratio. The microbes love it. It can be turned straight to compost, and plants love it. And it's full of these minerals and calcium. I have some. Right, so I use it as mulch everywhere I can. If I could have the perfect world, it'd be second and third cut in alfalfa. Because there's no weeds in it. Right, every time a farmer cuts alfalfa field, decreases the weeds. Weeds can't even deal with second cut hay, you don't have any weeds. I do like having a cover crop. If I had a bigger place, I would grow the cover crop just for the mulch. And put it into hay and straight into the compost bins. Easy peasy, right? Those are some things to think about. So
Is your cover crop, or is it live alfalfa that you're growing as your mulch?
no, it's not. Hey, it's hay. And it can be this rotten, nasty, sucky looking black stuff you could ever imagine. The farmers don't want it. It's garbage to them. They're not making compost. You've got a farmer or rancher that's got it. That's what they have to clean his hay yard. Like, okay, we're not please. Not gonna ask for it. But it would be premium. It would be the ultimate. Some of the best tests that I've done, and I sent off to Earthport, which is a lab that evaluates these microbes, has been from alfalfa hay mixed with rotten, nasty straw hay, wheat hay. And they're off the chart. He's like, what was your feedstock? This is off the chart. Right? Just by using rotten, already breaking down stuff that already had the initial first thing that you want to be making compost. And mulch is the same way. You're just making compost on top of the soil. Microbes are going to come up, grab it, take it down, especially your worms. Your microarthropods are going to shred it and make a lovely situation. They want to do that work anyhow. Let them. But if you're a bare soil, what's happening?
I don't have it.
They're not working for you. Now you're doing the work.
I'm not big fan.
You're going way backwards now, down this line, the line's going backwards. Got to have that covered. So our love of tilled soil and walking through that gorgeous earth, which I was raised with it, that's what we do. We don't want that. Neither do my kids. We don't do that. Now, a light till, maybe 2 to 3 inches deep, if you're working in your cover crop or something, that's conservation tillage. It's acceptable when needed, and you need to know what you're doing. You wouldn't do it when it's wet. You're going to create combo, or what they call it, adobe. Yeah. Okay, so any questions on this? When we get to the essential oils, the plants are protecting themselves. That's
We've got what looks like dark, rich soil, but I did a soil test on it. It's 0 for everything. What would you recommend?
well, we'll get into soil next. We're trying to get through this plant health a little bit. Get over our pest problem. What's our problem? Do we have a pest problem?
Yeah.
Not if we're at 4.
No, we have a plant health problem. We don't have a pest problem. Come on, students. We don't have a pest problem. We have a plant health problem.
It's a pest.
The pest is the indicator.
Sick plants.
It's the guy showing up and saying, hey, pay attention, you've got a problem. They're actually helping us. We don't look at it that way. Okay, so we have a plant health problem if we have pests. It's just a matter of how bad are they? Grasshoppers? We're up here. About earwigs. Earwigs? Probably somewhere in the middle. Anything with mandibles, they're going to be on the upper level. Right? We're going to taste it when we get to those essential ones. Sometimes we'll even smell it. Right? All right, so we're off with that because we got to go on to some other stuff here. So, eventually we went to soil health things that are on our handout. You know what? People got to do stuff 3 times before they, or at least my students do. Well, I have to probably do it 4 or 5. Right, so we're going to put them up here, the soil health principles, and like else. Diversity is one that's just named because where did I say the microbes are living? All over the plant. Every plant has different microbes. So we want lots of diversity of microbes. We want lots of diversity of plants coming down and making the cycle all work. Right, so I'm not encouraging a monocrop of any, but there's certain situations you have to. But you really want to be thinking about how can I polycrop in this or intercrop in this? So if I've got a tomato, then I'm gonna have a tomato go up, then I'm gonna have a basil. And then I might have thyme or sweet alyssum. I have sweet alyssum, at least 10 or 15% of the greenhouse is sweet alyssum. Right on the edge of the planters. They're not taking up any soil space whatsoever, but they are doing immense things to help us with the beneficial insects and the soils. So sweet alyssum should be in there. It's going to trail us off the top, beautiful, right? And now I got 3 different plants in one soil bed that's building lots of different microbes. So you want to think diversity every time you can think diversity. What's another one? We kind of went over readers, disturbance, right? Kind of skip through there. We're not going to get up the deep tilling. What happens when we deep till?
Kill the microbes.
Board here. What happens when we till?
You kill the microbes.
Okay, but how deep is our tiller time? It's running
6-8 inches.
6-8 inches. All right, at 6-8 inches, what do we have here? Okay, dig a hole, take a shovel and dig down there.
Like,
Clay,
It's like
contact.
it's rock, it's like we just made concrete. Right at where those tiller times hit and at high speed. And that made it really well, you can barely get your shovel through. Right, it's this. But max out more than this. So we want to avoid doing that, but we probably have done that already. Right, so then we need to figure out with a shovel, we get out there with old fashioned shovel and dig a hole and see how deep that is. We're gonna have to break that up. So you can do it with some plants like sunflowers and mustards and different things, your daikon radishes. To think about how am I gonna break that compacted layer, because we all have it. I seen a place that had 3 layers of it. I'm like, wow, there's one at 3 inches and it was a pasture. It had been a CRP field. So in the CRP field, the original tilling was done by the mule. So we got a layer down here, 10 inches deep, maybe 12 inches deep with the historic tilling that took place on the prairie. And then our tiller at whatever depth we put it at. And then there was a cow pan from cows walking on it. Right, so it had a compacted layer here too. What were they growing?
Nothing.
Oh, they're growing something. What are they growing? Weeds. What we call weeds. Actually, some diversity, but we call them weeds. It's nature's emergency system to fix that soil. Those weeds. She's trying to fix this mess we created. And what do?
Wipe it out.
Well, it's a big egg, you're gonna wipe it out the chemical, but what do we do, starters? What's that?
Put soil on top to try and.
Well,
Pull the weeds.
most of them are pulling them. What do they do with the roots? We want to leave the roots in the soil. They're microfood. And they're channels for water and air. How much air should be in soil? Anybody know? How much, Robin?
Lots.
25%. 25% should be air. Wow. What's in this?
0.
Not much air, but microphyzal rhizae could get 70% more water out of that to give to our plant. If we had that fungi in our soil. Working for our plants like a highway system delivering water and nutrients for plant. But if we have it super compacted we're not gonna. What's your question?
If I've been like rock working to like 3 inches or so, am I creating that same hard layer? I haven't dug in there.
Just little holes of it, but that's okay, right? You ready? Thanks. Thank you. So you're gonna have to deal with it somehow. Right? So broad forked is our best case scenario, but as soon as you open it up, you're gonna put the microbes on it, right? Microbes, there's microbes in this, BioCoat Gold. You go ahead and add your molasses, your humics, your seaweed and your worm castings. Because you gotta get the microbes down in that pool. Otherwise, it's gonna seal right back up. So we gotta have the microbes. My nephew is a big ag guy and he had deep ripped in Texas and about this deep river, 42 inches deep river. But he didn't put any microbes in. He's like, holy crap, did I ever make a holy mess? Because now he has compaction layer at 42 inches deep that he's not gonna get very many roots out in there. Because he didn't put the microbes down with it. So if you're gonna till or you're gonna do anything with steel, put the microbes down with it. Right? It's your only hope. And then the plants that can help it with roots thereafter. We're gonna have to really keep moving, yes.
So if you pull weeds and you leave those roots,
Leave the roots.
wouldn't they just grow back?
Here you go. So not an annual plant. Cut the weed off, chop and drop if there's not seeds on it. It's cover. It's adding diversity. Helps moisture. Helps with the moisture, yes.
I was gonna ask about the I'm a tiller. And I've got a tiller, I've always used one, but I try to always incorporate compost or peat moss or something like that to help loosen the soil up.
When did nature do that?
Probably when I started growing stuff.
It never did that.
So integrating the peat moss or compost doesn't help at all like that.
Well, but now you took the topsoil, it's at the top, blended it. And then you put organic materials deep down in there that are foreign to the system. A root would have been down there. I'm being very devil's advocate.
You know, I get it. I'm just, for me, my experience has been that it loosens the soil up and I get more aeration and better saturation for my water.
For maybe right then.
Okay,
But
so it's a short-term benefit.
it's a short-term benefit
Okay.
and you're making microbes do things that you don't want them to do and they're gassing up all your organic matter. So the guy that said he had black soil, no organic matter, it's left long ago. We're left with the color, not so much of else. Yeah, there's lots and lots of research on how that's happening and not to do that.
So when you are kind of cleaning the garden at the end of the season, are you also just cutting the plants at the top and leaving the roots?
And sometimes I ask, why would you clean the garden? Who's working? You are. The plant's not. What's happening in nature? Stay there, slowly break down. Some other insects are gonna go live in the cell of the tube of the plant. It's gonna catch snow. In eastern Montana, I don't know about here, but in eastern Montana, we wanna catch every snowdrop. We want to leave it standing tall as long as we can leave it standing tall. Let it catch it. Nature's now putting moisture on top of that organic matter and breaking it down, helping us. The worms sweep right to soil surface. So yeah, it's almost a reversal of what we used to do. Yes,
So we leave everything as is, and then once it's kind of laid down, it's really get into part of it.
talk about these guys need air. We don't want to kill them. We need them. So we're not going to tarp it. If you have enough mulch, you won't have weeds. Now, I do take out what I don't want for seeds for weeds. I take that out, right? Like I got some mullein that I'm using for medicinal purposes. Weeds love it. I cut it off every time it gets done flowering. I don't even let it dry for the seed, right? I cut it off. Compost it, get it out of there. Don't let them, you got to do that kind of, you don't want the seeds to be. So there is some control that way. Yes.
So I have the complete opposite problem in that chunk of dirt. I live in the floodplain. So all my soil is 90% cobble rock.
Yeah, if you're dealing with rock, you've got problems.
Yeah, so I do raise.
We did pitch, we're gonna fix rocks. You just gotta keep adding organic matter at the top and farm on top.
Yeah, I don't raise
Try to
beds.
keep this up. That first picture that I showed you, the soil is increasing. And the lady says, oh, I've got a problem. So I can't flood irrigate anymore. because your soil is rising. We're gonna build soil, even though the university say you can't do that for 1,000 years. Right, you will, you just gotta keep going with these principles. We'll put all the principles. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna do this little slate test so that you can understand what's going on a little better with these soils and you know what's healthy and what's not. So you just dry out a soil pad. Any size you got. I got 3 different gardens here that we're gonna put in some water. And you wanna help us? Just, you're gonna set that inside there. And so we just got some water and a little bit of vegetable net. We're just gonna set them in there and let the water get to them. Okay, this is called the slate test. And so we're trying to figure out if we have soil structure, right? So we want the soil to be structured. That means the microbes that fuse the soil together and made kind of like chunky, like cottage cheese looking, or chocolate milk, chocolate cake. I haven't tested any of these soils to know what's going to happen with them. Okay, what do we want it to look like after we've had a rain?
Clear water.
Clear water. We want this. Okay, our neighbor wants that. Everybody downhill of us wants that, and everybody in the river system wants this. What if it's not doing that? What if it's doing something else? This one isn't even blowing up that bad, but. Okay, so it's eroding. It's eroding and it's running off. It's taking your nutrients with it. And you're not getting it to go down in the soil. How many times have you had rain and it's just slick on top, but then the moisture doesn't go down where the roots are at? You know, so this one, we're going to get the moisture to go deep down in the soil and it's going to retain it and help. This one's not. So just do your own little test with your soil. Be sure to dry it out or it doesn't work and figure out what's going on. Now I should have brought some really bad soil and it went into into a big cloud and disappeared.
Like what a potting soil would likely do.
Well, potting soil is going to sit on top because it's mostly just peat. Yes, Rob.
I just want to share a story that Patti in this, in another class a couple of years ago, and a farmer drawed soil from the field where they annually tilled
Right.
her vegetable garden. And then she took some from the edges of the pasture where her garden was, where they never tilled, you know, like that was just having that. And the best soil was the one that was untouched.
And that will happen over and over and over. I was in a community garden last fall and the lady says, we've got a weed problem over here. And I'm like, show it to me. And she says, it's right here along the path. And we dug up the soil from there and then we dug up the soil from their beds. And then we went and did this. And the one where the weeds were at and the diversity doing this and hadn't been tilled. Where they were tilling had went poof, and just disappeared. We can't afford to let topsoil keep disappearing. I don't care if it's in your garden or not, but we really don't want to do that. We want to do the research soil. We came to free the seeds, so I want to talk about seeds for a minute. We're not going to get very far into this, but I think the lowest hanging fruit in all of this is in nature, the seed would have fell on the ground, right, without the human intervening, and it would have been in a cell of whatever to protect it. So it's a tomato, it's going to be protected pretty well until it's needed to germinate. But the tomato is now full of what? Bacteria and microbes. And where did it land? On bacteria and microbes. Right, so it's inoculated with microbes, the seed is. From instant get-go, number one, first day, it's inoculated. And now those microbes are communicating with that seed, telling that, hey, you're in Hawaii, you're in the best soil on earth, great, crazy. The plant's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then it starts pumping out red exudates instantly. Look, the seedling is only, what, a week old. It's just got the first 2 leaves. And it's already colonized with lots of microbes. So you're gonna do that by putting on the microbes, which I buy from Advancing Eco Agriculture. It's called BioCoat Gold. These is from Big Ag. It's their #1 selling product, and they do hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres of farm ground. And they inoculate and seed with this. It's just a fine powder. You put in some water, and then you'll drench it on top of where you plant your seeds. Maybe it's your seed cells, or maybe it's in your trench where your carrot seeds, wherever. So that they're inoculated with microbes instantly. We do not have a lot of microbes in our soil, but now we're convincing the plant there is, and it's feeding them like crazy. The microbes will come. The microbes will come and will take part.
Quick 9-minute warning.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
All right, and then when I collect seeds, I collect the biggest seeds. We, as seed consumers, don't generally see the biggest seeds because they've screened those off and they went to their development place or wherever they're doing plant breeding. And the next level seeds probably is going to the pivot producer that grew the whole field of one thing that you now are getting seeds from of this monocrop that was probably chemically produced. Unless you bought organic seed, which is kind of hard to find. And then they're getting the next best seed. I don't know what level are we getting, Robin?
Probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4 level of people taking off the best, biggest seed before we even see the seed. So we have not probably seen really big healthy seeds, yes.
Can I ask you about pepper plants? Because they seem like they take in our part of the country so long to fully ripen, and I haven't been able to get any of mine to germinate after I've saved them. Even when I've waited for them to ripen the plant, I can't get them
So
to germinate.
maybe pollination problems or something, I'm not quite sure. And they may be getting across with other stuff. I'm not sure. I'm sure on that. Yes, we're gonna run out of time, yes.
I was just wondering about amending with animal poo and versus like what they're doing with sludge and so on.
With sludge.
Human waste. Human waste
sludge?
on farmland.
We don't have time to get into that.
Well, what about just amending with animal poo? Is that good?
You want it to be broken down. That's just possible. This is a solid leaf that's we're looking for. That's a bean plant. The kale and on the top or broccoli, there's your wax. The rippling of the leaf on the collars didn't have enough calcium that day. Our essential oils could be in a range of 1 to 200. So there's a lot of room for change. Say you buy some peppermint tea and it doesn't have any taste. We'll probably down there in the lower 25% of those essential oils. You get one that's like, wow, you can smell it and it tastes amazing. We're probably up there in upper 75% right. So there's places we can go, but think about this as you are going through your gardening season. Okay, any further questions? Yes. Here's some of the products.
What's your take on raised bed versus?
I use a lot of raised beds. These are just ones that I've used and you can find good. This is one I found yesterday at Fox Range. So yeah, I do a lot of container gardens. You just have to create this environment, cover on all of them, and not the colored dye wood chips. You don't want any dye anywhere. Yes.
Oh, I just basically say deal with compaction first. And I forget what you said. How do you deal with compaction?
So if it's a clay soil, we're going to deal with that with gypsum. Right here. 2 to 3 times a year, and in your flower mix or your editing mix. In your hole with your tomato, in your hole with your pepper. Yeah. Yeah. That's another question. Sorry to get this in the hand. I don't think too small, didn't have time to get the hand out any bigger. Hey, this is a product of box, right? This does have more nitrogen, another one back. More nitrogen in it than I like, but they're selling to people that like really tall. They're one plant. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, this should be like a week-long class, but sorry, it gets one out.
Sadly, we have 5 minutes
Okay,
left.
so if we can get the clay to act like loam, that first garden does that. I mean, you can literally remove the mulch and stick your arm down it. Robin's been there. It's amazing, yes.
Hey, Patty, where would you recommend bringing soil in from? I'm gonna be doing raised beds, if I need to bring in a ton of soil.
I don't know.
Glacier Gold?
Yeah, I would think that Glacier Gold would be,
I think that Glacier Gold uses municipal.
They do.
Yeah.
Glacier Gold gets 50% of the Kalispell and sewage and sludge.
Wow. Wow.
okay, unfortunately, they're gonna take us out. Any other questions?
Does anyone use Creston topsoil?
Yes.
Yeah, do you like them?
I love that.
Creston?
This is another Montana product that I use mostly in my compost, but it will really help in soften soil too. So it is really silicon. Did I say that on? Yeah, silicon. But it's made by Montana Grow in Missoula, right?
Yep.
Okay, so really good product. There's some soil data handouts if anybody needs them. Any other questions?
You have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. Thank
Really?
you.
Website
They can get
for help?
grow diversity and eat diversity, right? Because that's where the human microbes are coming from, where we're gonna get our health better, is the microbes from those plants. So lots of diversity. So yes, if you have further questions, please see me there. That's my question.
Does terracing out a hillside help with gaining nutrients?
Does the what?
Terracing, like cutting steps along a hillside and just, wash it, the nutrients.
Well, I would think, whether it's Peru or wherever all the world, they've done it and they're highly successful. But they are using their human manure and lots of organic materials to create that, that they don't know exactly what else. All right, wish we could stay for another hour, but we can't.